Hello everyone, Books with Banks back again today with another video. And I know we're not even halfway through 2023, but I'm already kind of starting to think about what series and new series I might want to be tackling next year in 2024. So today what I think I want to do is I want to go through and talk about the 10 series that are kind of most present on my radar, the 10 things I'm most eager to jump into, and then I want to see, if you don't mind, if you've read any of these series, I'd love to see people's comments down below why they think I should start one or the other, and I might even consider these comments as votes of sorts, and depending on what everybody says, because all of these are kind of, I might do a rank, like I might say this one's number 10, this one's number 1 or so, but I really do want to start all of these at some point in time, and depending on how much feedback I get from all of you, that will help me kind of figure out and decide where I want to slot these into my 2024 TBR. A while ago I made a 2023 TBR, very ambitious, so you will see some of the things I mentioned in that thing on here. But I should also add, these are importantly series I haven't started yet. Of course, there are a number of series I'm still in the middle of, so things like the Outlander series, or Wheel of Time, or I consider the Cosmere, honestly. I've read like 5 of the books in the Cosmere. Things like that I consider I've already started, and so that I might make a separate video about what have I already started that I need to finally pick back up again. I might do a separate video for that sort of thing. But for today, we're just talking about series that I haven't started at all whatsoever. And I'm really excited to. I mean, I've got a stack in front of me and I'm just looking at them. I'm excited to read any of these. So yeah, I could really use all of your help in helping me decide which one of these I should add. I should make sure for certain to add to my 2024 TBR. And before I get too much further, if you haven't already, it would mean a lot if you could pretty please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. The first series I want to talk about, we'll actually call this number 1, okay? Just to make it easier, and we'll just count up to 10, is the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. I have the first book, The Winter King, right here. I have heard so many great things about this trilogy. It helps that it's only a trilogy, so it wouldn't take me all year, to read. I'm very unfamiliar with a lot of the Arthur legends. I know a lot of the story, but I haven't really read any adaptations or interpretations of that story. So everything I've heard about this version of the Arthurian legend is it's just the highest praise. So yeah, this here we have book 1, The Winter King of Bernard Cornwell's The Warlord Chronicles. That's the first series that you can comment or vote on down below. The next one I want to talk about is, from what I hear, a very strange series, and that would be The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. This is of the edition that collects the first 2, so The Shadow of the Torturer and The Claw of the Conciliator. I have the second volume of the series that collects the books 3 and 4, and then the 5th kind of standalone book, Earth of the New Sun, or not standalone, but like the 5th one after the main series. I have these. I've been sitting on these for a while. I hear this is a bit of an intimidating read, and that makes me really kind of even more excited to get into it. And yeah, I think I would just love kind of puzzling out what's going on in these books and getting through them. So yeah, Shadow and Claw, that first collection of Gene Wolfe's Book of the New Sun, that's the second series. The next series I want to talk about is one that I feel like I'm having met the author now, I feel maybe an additional pressure to read this because I had some wonderful conversations with the man, and so going off of those conversations, building on from those, I am very excited to read his work at some point, and this is Stephen R. Donaldson, The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, and for this entry, as I understand it, there's the first Chronicles, which is this first trilogy, feel free to say if you just want to vote on me to read that, or if you want to vote on me to read. I think are there 10 books in the whole Chronicles, with like the second trilogy and then that last set of 4 books. I cannot wait to get into these. Additionally, kind of an honorable mention, if you will. I have heard, even from Donaldson himself, that the Gap cycle might be a slightly better series, or it might be a slightly more popular, more widely read series. So if nobody is too excited for me to start these, but you are excited for me to start the Gap cycle, I guess their science fiction series, I'm also open to hearing comments about that one too. But yeah, love to get into these at some point. I know at some point get into them. I'm just not exactly sure when. So that was the third one. And then fourth, the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. This is the Grace of Kings, of course, and I'm excited to get into these. Everything I've heard about the structure and the kind of distant storytelling method, at least of this first book, has me really intrigued. Yes, again, I've only heard great things, and I would just love to. I'd love to hear more about this series, and I'd love to eventually read it and contribute to the discourse on YouTube. So that's kind of option 4, Grace of Kings and the Dandelion Dynasty series by Ken Liu. Then 5, this one would be interesting, and I've heard it's a very strange series, and this is The Dark Tower by Stephen King. This is the Gunslinger book 1 of that. Again, excited to get into these. Please let me know down below if you think 2024 would be a good year for me to start this series more than any of the other 4 I've talked about so far. Then, let's see what we have here. Okay. Then, for my birthday last year, my fiance was kind enough to get me the first 3 books, the first trilogy of The First Law by Joe Abercrombie. Here we have the Blade itself, and this has been on my TBR for a long time. Heard nothing but praise for this series, and even people that seem to have some criticisms of this first book, or kind of the more character-focused, less plot-focused kind of aspect of the series. It's at least kind of a general thing I've heard about these books. That doesn't really seem like it'll deter me or bother me at all. I'm really excited to get into this. I actually really like these covers. I think they're quite lovely. But yeah, excited to get into that. So again, let me know down below if you think this should definitely be present on my 2024 TBR. That was 6. Then 7, this one's a bigger series, but this would be The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. Here we have book 1, Assassin's Apprentice. Again, similar to some of these others, the massive series is broken up into smaller series, so if you want to comment down below saying your vote is maybe just for me to read this first trilogy, the Farseer trilogy, within this more massive epic, that's fine. If you think I should try and get through the 14, or at least start off trying to get through, is it 14? No, is it 16 books, I think. 16 books of Realm of the Elderlings next year. Please let me know that down below as well. Honestly, everything I've heard about Live Ship Traders and Tawny Man make it seem like those are going to be my favorite trilogies and kind of eras of this series, but I am still really excited to start this at some point, especially because a lot of the booktubers I look up to, and that kind of inspired me, not explicitly, or not to their knowledge, but they definitely did inspire me to get on this platform and start talking about books. A lot of them have nothing but positive things to say about Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings. So there you go. Option number 7. Then option number 8. This one is not as much fantasy, more historical fiction, but I ever since I watched Brian Lee Durfee's reviews on the first few books in this series, I cannot wait to start these and to continue to expand my historical fiction understanding through these. And these are Colleen McCullough's Masters of Rome series, the first book, The First Man in Rome. This is a series of 7 books that chronicle a lot of the last century, or the first century BC, and then going into the first century AD a little bit, in the Roman Empire, everything that was going on there with the people who came before Julius Caesar and Pompey, and then going through Octavius or Augustus, and then and stuff with Antony and Cleopatra. In fact, I believe the 7th book is called Antony and Cleopatra. I'm really excited to get into this, to explore more historical fiction with this type of stuff. So, if you're a really big historical fiction fan, please let me know down below if you want me to give this series a try. Also, additionally, like for this series and the other ones, if they're series that you yourself haven't read, but you've been dying to see more content about to make that determination for if you should give it a try, that's also, you can vote on a series based on that as well. If you're like, I don't know if I'll like, Stephen R. Donaldson, but let me see what Books with Banks has to say about it. If he likes it, maybe I'll give it a try. Just if it so happens that your taste might align with some of my other bookish tastes. 8, Masters of Rome, Colleen McCullough. The ninth series that I really want to, throw into the voting here. It's not so much a series, not strictly a series. In fact, a lot of these books aren't even connected in the same world, but I'm considering them a series because I just have this really strong feeling that once I read one of this author's works, I'll want to read the rest of his works. And so I'm just going to say, kind of make a loose series in my mind of Guy Gavriel Kay's, all of his works. Or a lot of his works, at least. And basically, when I say this, what I mean is I would do at least, if Guy Kay gets a lot of votes, I would try next year to read Tigana, then I would read Song for Arbonne, then Lions of Alversan, then the Sarantine Mosaic, the 2 books that make up the Sarantine Mosaic. I would read at least those 5. Everything about my love of history and fantasy, everything I've heard about these sounds brilliant. I can't wait to get into them. Let me know if you want me to make this a priority next year. And then 10th, last but definitely not least, this has probably been on my TBR longer than... No, I can say for certain this has been on my TBR longer than any of the rest of these. And this is R. Scott Bakker's second Apocalypse series. The first trilogy is The Prince of Nothing. However, if people vote on this, even if you tell me to just read the first trilogy, I'm sure I will read all 7 books, all 7 published books. Again, this has been on my TBR for a really long time. I'm really excited to get into these, but it's always just kind of a, is this the year to dive into something as dense, as heavy as this? So I'm thinking, that's the 10th one. This is book 1, Darkness That Comes Before, of The Prince of Nothing, which is really just a smaller series in the larger second Apocalypse 7-book series by R. Scott Bakker. That's 10. So, I know this is a little early, but, to be planning out TBR for 2024, but I am thinking whatever gets the most votes here, who knows? If I'm in a reading mood, 1 month this year, I might just go ahead and start. Hell, let's say a lot of people are voting for me to read Realm of the Elderlings, or a lot of people are voting for me to read all of Donaldson's works, just everything that he's written. I might start those a little bit earlier. I might start those near the end of 2023, just because they're larger series. And I'd want to make sure that I have enough content and that I'm reading these things in depth enough. But yeah, for this year, I'm still kind of the main priorities are kind of 3 really amazing authors that I'm reading right now, and that would be Diana Gabaldon's Outlander series, Jenny Wirt's Wars of Light and Shadow series, and Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses series. If you would have asked me last year, I'm not sure I would have put Sarah J. Maas in that group, but I am on the second book of ACOTAR, and I am really enjoying it. So yeah, those three series probably take the priority for this year, particularly Outlander and Jenny Wirt's Wars of Light and Shadow. But yeah, when I find space and when I find time to weave in any of these other things that I will definitely be starting next year, depending on what you all say down below in the comments, that will kind of determine where I go, which series I use to kind of fill in those cracks in my reading schedule. So yeah, those 10 books, I can hold them up here. Again, ooh, it's a little wobbly stick. Yeah, these 10 books. So yeah, let me know, or these 10 starting books to epic massive series. Please let me know down below if you would like me to start any of these next year. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.